Good morning, children. So I am starting the next chapter, uniform circular motion. Now, what is uniform circular motion? When a body moves over a circular path with constant speed, then the motion of the body is known as uniform circular motion. So, circular motion means it is moving on the circular path, and uniform term is coming due to the fact that speed is uniform. That's why you see here I have noted that speed of the body remain constant. Alright. But what about the velocity? Now, if you consider that the body is moving over the circular path, then you see at any instant of time, suppose the body was at the point A. Alright. Now, after a very small time, delta t, the body has come to the point B. Alright. Now, at any point, what is the direction of the velocity? Direction of the velocity is along the tangent drawn at that point. So, you see, if I draw a tangent at this point, this is the direction of the velocity of the body undergoing uniform circular motion. Now, when the body has come to the point B, then you see what is the direction of the velocity? Direction of velocity is tangent drawn at this point. Then when it has come to the point C, what is the direction of the velocity? If you draw a tangent at the point C, then this is the direction of the velocity. So, you see, as we know that velocity is a vector quantity, so although as the speed remain constant, magnitude of velocity is same, but you see direction is changing. Alright, so when a body undergoes uniform circular motion, then the 2 points you have to remember is that speed remain constant, but velocity changes due to change in direction. Alright, magnitude of the velocity remain constant, but the direction changing at every point. So, we consider that velocity is not a constant quantity. Alright. Now, if you consider a body undergoing uniform circular motion, then we just have to know one term that is known as angular displacement. Alright. What is the angular displacement? You see, the body was at the point A. Now, after some time delta t, the body has come to the point B. So, if you join the position of the body with the center, initial position and final position, then you see this vector, radius vector, it is subtending an angle delta theta at the center of the circular path. Alright, so this delta theta is the angular displacement. Okay, so what is angular displacement? Angle subtended by the body at the center of the circular path is known as the angular displacement. So angular displacement is delta theta. Alright, now as we know from our concept of, now if you consider our concept of angle, we know that angle is given by arc divided by radius. Alright. So you see in this case what you are getting, that angular displacement is given by S by R, whereas S is the linear displacement of the body. Alright. Now, when a body undergoing uniform circular motion, then you can consider the body will have two velocities. One is the linear velocity. Okay, linear velocity is what? Linear velocity is S by delta t. Clear? What will be the linear velocity? Linear velocity is given by linear distance travelled by time. So, what is the linear distance travelled? S, and what is the time I said? Delta t. Why I have written the term delta? Because it is, I have taken a very small interval of time. So, you see linear velocity is given by S by delta t. Clear? Now, then the concept is coming, concept of angular velocity. Alright. Angular velocity we generally denote it by omega. Angular velocity is defined as angular displacement per unit time. Okay, so you see here angular displacement, you can write it as delta theta, and what is the time taken? Delta t. So you can write delta theta by delta t. Alright, this is one way you can write. Another way is that if you consider that T, big T, be the time period for one complete rotation, then you see you can revolution, then you can say that T is the time to complete one circle. So by the time, what will be the value of the delta theta? Just see, it will be this complete angle. So what is the value of the complete angle? 2 pi radian. So you can write omega is equal to 2 pi divided by T. Alright, so these are the relations and concept you have to remember, that angular displacement delta theta is equal to S by R, linear velocity V is given by S by delta T, and angular velocity is delta theta by delta T, or you can write it as 2 pi divided by. Now according to our concept, what we have got, that S is equal to delta theta into R. Alright. So if you divide both the side of this equation by delta T is the time taken to move from A to B. Then you see you are getting S by delta T equal to delta theta by delta T into R. Now if you apply now the limit delta T tends to 0. What is the meaning that limit delta T tends to 0? It means that T is infinitesimally small. T infinitesimally small means it tends to 0 but it is not equal to 0. Alright. This is the meaning of this term, limit delta T tends to 0, delta S by delta T. So if you apply that concept, then limit delta T tends to 0, delta theta by delta T into R. Now according to our concept, limit delta T tends to 0 by delta T, delta S by delta T, it gives the instantaneous linear velocity. Instantaneous linear velocity means what? Linear velocity at any instant of time. Like that, limit delta T tends to 0, delta theta by delta T gives you the instantaneous velocity of the instantaneous angular velocity. Okay, at any instant of time, at any point, what is the angular velocity that you can get it? So that is denoted by omega. So you see what is the relation you are getting between the linear velocity and angular velocity. That linear velocity is equal to angular velocity into radius. Alright. Now look at these quantities. V is the linear velocity, means it is a vector quantity. Omega is the angular velocity. It is also a vector quantity. And what is R? R is the radius vector, means it is directed from the center towards the point, towards the position of the object, okay, on the circular path. So as V, omega and R all are vector quantity. So if you write in vector form, then V actually is given by V is equal to omega cross R. Alright, so these two relation concept wise very important. So you must learn and remember it, that linear velocity is equal to magnitude of linear velocity is equal to product of magnitude of angular velocity and radius. And if you consider the linear velocity as a vector quantity, then cross product of omega and R is equal to linear velocity. So you see, when a body is undergoing uniform circular motion, then as its velocity is changing at every point of its motion, so we can say the body is having one accelerated motion, and the acceleration of the body undergoing uniform circular motion is known as centripetal acceleration. Alright, and centripetal acceleration, the magnitude of centripetal acceleration is given by V square divided by R, where V is the linear velocity and R is the radius. Alright, and as you know, V is equal to omega into R. So if you substitute in place of V omega into R, then it comes omega square R. Alright, so this is the magnitude of the centripetal acceleration. What is centripetal acceleration? What I said, the acceleration of the body undergoing uniform circular motion is known as the centripetal acceleration. And what is the magnitude of centripetal acceleration? V square by R or omega square R. And what is the direction of the centripetal acceleration? Direction of centripetal acceleration, suppose at the point A the body is, it is along the radius towards the center of the circle. So you see, this is the direction of the centripetal acceleration. You must remember it. And that's why instead of writing this full sentence that towards the center of the circular path along the radius, one may write like this, radially inward. Alright, that is the direction of the centripetal acceleration. And you know that according to Newton's second law of motion, whenever a body is having acceleration, it means that a force is acting on the body. So when a body undergoes uniform circular motion, then the force that is responsible to create this uniform circular motion or produce uniform circular motion is known as the centripetal force. Alright, so you see centripetal force according to Newton's second law of motion, you can write mass into centripetal acceleration. So what is centripetal acceleration? V square by R. So what is the expression for centripetal force? You can write mv square by R, or you can write it as m omega square R. Alright, this is the expression of the centripetal magnitude of centripetal force. Either you can write mv square by R, or you can write m omega square R. Then the question arises that what is the direction of the centripetal force? As we know that force is always directed along the direction of the acceleration. So you can say here, what is the direction of the centripetal force? The direction of the centripetal force is radially inward. Means it acts along the radius towards the center of the circle. That's why you must remember another fact. You see, when a body undergoing uniform circular motion, then you see when the body is coming to the point B, then what is the direction of the centripetal force and acceleration? This is the direction. And when it is coming to C, then what is the direction of centripetal force and acceleration? This is the direction. So do you think all these three directions are same? No, not at all. So this is the point you have to remember. When a body undergoes uniform circular motion, then the quantity which remain constant, that is only the speed. Velocity changes, acceleration changes, as well as force also changes as their direction changes. Remember, magnitude of the linear velocity, magnitude of the centripetal acceleration, magnitude of the centripetal force, these three remain constant, okay, but their direction of the velocity, direction of the acceleration, direction of the centripetal force changes at every point on the circular path. Okay, so these are the basic concept related with the uniform circular motion. I have written everything point wise. You too note down point wise and also learn and remember all the points important related with the uniform circular motion. Now the next topic is non-uniform circular motion. Alright. So you see, as it is a circular motion, the body is moving on the circular path. Non-uniform. Why the term non-uniform is coming? Because speed is not constant. In the previous discussion, when it was uniform circular motion, what I said? Speed is constant. But when I am saying non-uniform circular motion, what does it mean? That speed is variable or not constant. Clear? So you see what is happening to the velocity. Magnitude of the velocity changing as well as direction of the velocity is changing. Alright. So you see, due to the change in magnitude of the velocity, what is happening? Acceleration the body will have, that is the tangential component of the acceleration, and the radial component of the acceleration will be responsible due to change in direction of velocity. Alright. Or in a simple way, you can say that when a body undergoing non-uniform circular motion, then at any point, what will be the acceleration? Acceleration, as I said, it will have two components. So one is tangential component. So you see from the name only you can make out in which direction tangential component of the acceleration acts. Tangent drawn at this point. Alright. So you see this acceleration is created due to change in magnitude of the velocity. So one can write AT is equal to change in velocity divided by time. Alright, what will be the tangential component of the acceleration? Due to change in magnitude of the velocity. So one can write tangential acceleration is given by delta V, means change in velocity, divided by delta t, time taken. Then it will have a radial component also. Why the radial component? Because we know when a body undergoes uniform circular motion, then what will happen? It will have one acceleration that is known as the centripetal acceleration. It acts towards the center of the circle, which arises due to change in direction of the velocity. Alright, so you see acceleration has two components, radial component which is acting along the radius, another is tangential component which is acting along the tangent drawn at that point. So what will be the direction of the acceleration? If you apply the parallelogram law and complete the parallelogram, then you see this will be the resultant of AT and AR, means this will be the direction of the acceleration. Now this diagram is very important. Everyone should learn and practice it. Okay, question frequently comes on this topic. Clear that when a body undergoes non-uniform circular motion, then what will be the direction of the acceleration? So you see, this is the direction of the acceleration. Why? Because acceleration has two parts, radial component which arises due to change in direction of velocity. This is the third to fourth times I am repeating the same. So you must remember that. And tangential component which arises due to change in magnitude of the velocity. And that's why one can write AT is equal to delta V by delta T, or you can write it as dV dt in the form of calculus, and radial acceleration which is given by V square by R. So these are the two relations. Along with this diagram, you must learn the concept and also try to remember it, and you must practice this diagram and the relations also. Now the practical examples in our day-to-day life where we apply the concept of the centripetal force, centripetal acceleration and all. You know that when any vehicle moves over a circular path or over an arc, you know that whenever you take a turn, suppose there is a road and you have to take the turn like this. So whenever you are taking the turn, you are moving over a circular path, isn't it? Means you are not completing the entire circle, but you are on the part of a circle. In that case, to move the vehicle, centripetal force is needed. Then you know that planets are revolving around sun. Alright. So why the planets are revolving around the sun? Because the gravitational force exerted by the sun on the planet gives the necessary centripetal force to the planet to revolve in the circular path. Alright. And you know that according to Newton's third law of motion, every force is having, every action there is a reaction. So you see, when the sun exerting the gravitational force on the planet and providing the necessary centripetal force, then what is happening? In turns, planet also apply the same reactionary force on the sun. Alright. Then another example that also in our life we generally use, although we cannot see that, we know that inside an atoms electrons are revolving around the nucleus, isn't it? So when the electrons are revolving inside the atom around the nucleus, then the electrostatic force of attraction between, because you know in nucleus what are there? Protons are there. Protons are positively charged and electrons are negatively charged. So an electrostatic force of attraction acts between them. So the electrostatic force of attraction exerted by the nucleus on the electron provide the necessary centripetal force. As a result, electrons also apply a reactionary force on the nucleus. Alright. Another example, generally we do that, we tie a string and suppose a small ball you have taken, you have tied the ball with a string, and then here is your finger. Alright, you tie it and then you turn it, isn't it? In that case, what you are doing? but your finger is applying the necessary centripetal force on the ball in the form of tension in the string. Alright. So, what the ball is doing, ball also applying a reactionary force on your finger through the string connecting the ball and the finger. Alright. So, these are all practical examples of centripetal force, centripetal acceleration in our day-to-day life. Now the topic I am going to discuss, very important. So this derivation also you must learn, and you have to solve the numericals also, applying the concept. Now you are having this experience in your life that whenever you are riding a bicycle, then when you are moving on a straight road, there is no problem. Then your bicycle is also perpendicular with respect to the road. But when you want to take a turn, alright, on the road, then you have seen, you yourself have felt that you have to lean in the inward direction. So you see, when you are moving over a straight path, then you are means vertical like this. Your cycle along with you are vertical with respect to the road. But when you are taking the turn, then you will see you have to lean towards the circle. Okay, along the turn you have to lean. Means if the turn is this side, you have to lean along this side. Okay, now why you have to lean along this side, that you have to understand. Now I cannot draw the entire cycle, so I have just drawn this one, that AB. This is the line of the bicycle. So you see, the rider leans in the inward direction while taking the turn. Okay, now why it is so, just try to understand it. So when you are taking the turn, as you are moving on a circular path, you need centripetal force to take the turn. Okay, now the question arises that where from the centripetal force is coming. So this is the way you are getting the centripetal force, just understand it. When the bicycle rider leans, making an angle theta with the vertical line, then you see the ground is pressed along this line. So what will happen? The ground will apply the reaction along this direction. Now this reaction R, you can break it into two components. If this angle is theta, what will be the component along the vertical line? It will be R cos theta. What will be the component of R along this horizontal line? It will be R sin theta. Alright. So you see, this R cos theta balancing the weight of the bicycle. So you can write from the free body diagram that R cos theta is equal to mg. Alright. Now what is happening to R sin theta? R sin theta, you see in which direction it is acting? It is acting along the radius towards the center of the turn. Okay, so this R sin theta will provide the necessary centripetal force. Now what is the value of the centripetal force? mv square by R. So R sin theta is equal to mv square by R. So if you divide now, suppose I am naming this as equation 1, this is equation 2. So if you divide equation 2 by equation 1, then what it is coming? R sin theta by R cos theta is equal to mv square by R into mg. So you can cancel m and m, you can cancel r and r here. So you are getting tan theta is equal to v square by rg. So if a bicycle rider want to take a safe turn without toppling down, what should be done? That this equation must be satisfied, that tan theta should be equal to v square by rg. That's why you will see that if the turn is very big, then what you have to do? You have to lean more. Alright, I hope you have experienced that one. If the turn is very sharp, then what happens? If you want to increase, because the velocity you cannot increase very high and this is also another fact, that if you want to take the turn with high speed, then you have to lean more. Alright, this is one point. Another point, if you want to take a radius is big, then if the radius is big, then what will happen? Theta will be less, then you have to lean less. Alright, but whenever you are taking the turn then you have to adjust your speed and you have to adjust the angle of inclination in such a way that this condition getting satisfied. Then only what will happen, the rider will be able to take the turn safely. Okay, so this formula, how it is coming, this derivation along with this diagram, you must learn and practice, and not only that, you must remember the ultimate final result also for solving the numericals. Now instead of considering a two-wheeler taking the turn on a road, if you consider a four-wheeler taking the turn on a road, okay. So here you consider this is the four-wheeler. I have not drawn a three-dimensional diagram. Then you see it is the road, it is taking the turn. So in that case, if you consider while taking the turn, what are the forces acting on the car, then you look at the diagram. These are the tires, the two front wheels. On the front wheel, the reaction, normal reaction R1 is acting in the upward direction, R2 acting in the upward direction. Frictional force, this is the most important part. When the road is flat, then the frictional force, you see, it acts towards the center of the circle. Alright, so what is happening? The two frictional forces acting on the wheels are F1 in this direction and F2 in this direction. Alright, and if you consider this is the center of gravity, then weight of the car mg is acting down, and what are the total reaction? Total reaction will be R1 plus R2. So you can write R1 plus R2 is equal to mg. Again, according to law of friction, you can write F1 is equal to mu s R1. Why I have written mu s R1? This is the maximum frictional force. That's why it is the static friction I have written mu s. And F2 is equal to mu s R2. So look at the diagram. What are the two forces acting towards the center of the turn? F1 and F2. So these two forces will provide the necessary centripetal force. Means when the road is straight, in that case, while taking the turn, the frictional force acting between the tire and the road provide the necessary centripetal force to take the turn. Alright, so you can write what is the total frictional force here. Total frictional force is given by F is equal to F1 plus F2 is equal to mu s into R1 plus R2. But R1 plus R2 is mg, so you can write mu s into mg. So you see, for the safe turn, this is the most important part. When the car will be able to take the turn safely, when the total frictional force, it will be equal to centripetal force or greater than the centripetal force. If it is less than the centripetal force, then what will happen? The car will not remain on the road, it will skid off. Is that clear? That's why for safe turn, what is the condition for safe turn? This is the condition for safe turn. The total frictional force should be greater than or equal to centripetal force. So what is the total frictional force we have got? Mu s into mg. So mu s mg should be greater than mv square by r. You can cancel. Then r, if you take it to this side, then you can write v square should be, means speed of the car should be such that v square less than equal to mu s rg. So you see, less than equal to mu s rg means what will be the maximum value when it will be equal? So what is the maximum speed with which the car can take the turn? It is given by under root mu s rg, because v square equal to mu s rg. So what will be v under root mu s rg. Okay, so you have to remember this one. What is the condition for safe turn and what is the maximum velocity with which the car can take the turn safely? The maximum velocity should be equal to under root mu s into r into g. Now next very interesting topic of this chapter is banking of a road. Now I hope you have observed this. Whenever there is a sharp turn on a road, especially on the hilly areas, you will see, because hilly areas, if the car skid off the road, then you know that accident may occur. So here what is done, especially in the hilly road, whenever there is a sharp turn, the road is not made leveled. Rather, you see, this is the level road. The road is made like this, inclined. And you see in which direction the inclination is. Inclination is towards the center of the turn. Here is the center of the turn. So the inclination is made, means the outer part of the road is made at a higher level, and if you consider this inner part is lower level. So this is the original road. Always you will see the road is slanting. There is a slope like this. Is that clear? So this is known as banking of a road. So if you consider that theta be the angle of banking, then you see when you are when the car is on this banked road, then what are the forces acting on it? The weight of the car, it is acting vertically downward. Then the car is resting on this road. This is the road. I hope you are following. Follow my finger. This is the road. So the car is resting on it. So who is providing the reaction? The road. So you see the reaction is acting perpendicular to the road. I am holding my pen, that's why. Understand it. And you should draw like that only. That reaction is acting perpendicular to the road. So if you consider the geometry of the diagram, if this angle is theta, this angle is also theta, this angle vertically opposite, so this is also theta. So one can break the reaction into two components, r cos theta and r sin theta. So look at the diagram now. How many forces you are getting? R cos theta vertically upward, mg vertically downward. So you can say R cos theta is balanced by mg. Now what about by R sin theta? R sin theta providing, look at R sin theta, it is towards the center of the circle, okay, parallel to the radius, means it is also acting towards the center of the circle. So R sin theta provides the necessary centripetal force to the car for the safe turn. So you see, once again, if you consider this is equation 1, equation 2, if you divide equation 2 by equation 1, then you will get tan theta is equal to v square by rg. Alright, so you see we have got the same relation just like the bicycle, but there is a difference. What is the difference? For bicycle, theta you can change, v you can change, isn't it? That's why I said that when you want to take the turn, bicycle rider want to take the turn with high speed, then the rider has to lean more. Means if you increase v, theta you can increase, alright? But in this case, what is happening? Once the road is constructed, theta is constant. So once the road is constructed, v is also constant. That's why if you go to the hilly areas, you will see whenever there is a safe turn, you want to take a turn, then at the corner of the turn, at the edge of the turn, speed limit is mentioned. Why the speed limit? This is the condition that the speed of the car may be less than this, there is no problem, but should not be more than this. Then what will happen? The car will skid off. Is that clear? So tan theta is equal to v square by rg. This condition should be satisfied by the car. So what is the difference for these two formula for car and rider, bicycle rider? What I said, in case of car, theta and v both are constant, but in case of bicycle rider can change the value of theta depending on his or her speed. Alright, and another point you have to remember that when the road is not banked, so why the road is banked? We have seen that when the road is not banked, frictional force provide the necessary centripetal force. Alright, so it is very much what I can say, not very convenient that frictional force may not be able to provide the necessary centripetal force while taking the sharp turn. Is that clear? That's why whenever there is a turn, the road is banked in this manner. Alright, so that's all for today. Thank you, girls.